So it is the month of May, and we almost missed this month once again. It has been a very crazy month in our household. We have a new addition that has joined, plus it was planting time for all of the vegetables, hardening off everything else. So we have definitely had our hands full. This is going to be a very not posed or cleaned up garden tour. This is going to be pretty raw. There are kids' toys, there's probably dog poop. This is real. This is what we're dealing with on a day-to-day. We do not have a picture perfect, pristine, beautiful, tour-worthy garden, but we do have a lot of things going on, and it has been a very busy and exciting month. Quite a bit has changed since last month, even from a few weeks ago. At the beginning of May, up until about mid-May, we were still experiencing some snow and hail. And even with the last frost date in the almanac saying about May 5th, we got snow, I think it was on the 8th or the 9th. So everything for planting was delayed. The cold weather crops were doing really, really well. And then the weather changed just like that. And my arugula bolted. My radishes look like they're pretty close to doing the same. And it jumped to 30 degrees with the humidex like overnight. So it's been a really funny year, a really strange year for trying to time getting vegetables and flowers out, because the usuals are not applying. But all that being said, we have gotten a lot set up and a lot growing already, and we're going to walk you through it. The evening is definitely my favorite time in the backyard because the sun just comes streaming in here and it is glorious. This is also where we chose to put all of our vegetables because of the afternoon heat and sun that it gets. It gets a bit of morning shade, and then after that it is rip-roaring heat all day long. But the grow bags are doing far better here than the gutter gardens ever did because of the amount of soil that they hold. So this is the one we had planted up in March, and everything sprouted when it needed to sprout. As you can see, we have some of the carrots coming up all right over here. Radishes, I never got around to thinning them, and I'm hoping that it doesn't impact the harvest too much because life just got busy having a toddler and a newborn. The peas are doing incredibly well, and then I decided to try a new little, start my cucumbers early in here with a little cloche to start them ahead of time, and they've come up really well. So those are eventually going to, I'm going to build some trellises here. Just I've got 2x4s and some chicken wire that need sorting out still. The strawberries have been doing really well as well. We've got flowers. It looks like might even have some fruit about to be starting on that one. So we should hopefully get a few there. And then the runners as they come, because this is not going to be enough space for the runners based on what we've had in previous years. So my intention is to fill the gutter gardens once the cool weather crops are done in there. We've got this finally opened. This came with the house. This was like a, I don't know, like a beer cooler thing that they DIY'd and built themselves. So it's, you know, comes fully prepared for a party. But I decided to repurpose it and fill it with plants because that's what I do. And then we have filled out our grow bags over here as well. We have some onions, tomatoes, kale, calendula, eggplant, and then we have some more calendula and peppers up here. These four at the front are all reapers, at least as far as we know they are reapers. My husband saved the seeds. He's pretty confident they were from a reaper plant. Our basil has started to sprout and is coming up. And then at the back, these are our sweet roasting peppers. And then over here, I had chopped down the one tree that had died and ended up putting in the blackcurrant bush that I had. So this will hopefully help to fill up the space, and at least in the summer months, eventually create a bit more privacy. And I tossed a bunch of sunflower and marigold seeds down and then put a bit more straw over top. So we'll see what survives from the squirrels. When I did some pruning with the roses, I also tossed some of the rose canes down to hopefully help keep the squirrels out of here. But the squirrels are still using the rest of the space like a freeway and coming in for the bird seed. Our apple tree gave us a very short-lived an enthusiastic bloom this year. I was so disappointed. I was looking so forward to it, and it showed up fairly late because of the weird weather. It bloomed very briefly, and then it snowed everywhere. So we have quite a lot of petals all over the ground and nothing left in the tree, and we've really only got 2, maybe 3 days out of the tree. We've got our gardens going strong, but unfortunately, like I mentioned, the arugula has bolted because of the crazy heat wave that we got this week. So the lower leaves are just tasting now. Yeah, they're going pretty bitter now. So this is pretty well toast. I'm gonna have to get pulled out. Spinach is still doing okay, but I'm gonna need to pull that out soon. And we finally have lettuce showing up. And when I say we're real, and it's not perfectly clean, and nothing is weeded, and there are kids' toys all over, this is what we're dealing with. But this has been such a lovely little oasis over the last few nights, coming out and just being able to hang out here once the kids are in bed. These are the few seedlings we have left. We packed up the little greenhouse that we had done and ended up giving away a lot of the seedlings, like over 100 seedlings, maybe more. Give them out to moms groups, the neighbors, friends, family, community garden out in Scarborough. So they've really gone far and wide and helped to fill the gap, since so many people are struggling to find fruit and vegetables and other seedlings at the usual shops this year. Our dahlias that we had started indoors have been planted out now, and they're looking really very robust. The color's even starting to show up on those. And the birds what am I trying to say? The birds gave us some voluntary seedlings. So we have a few bonus sunflowers that are coming up in here that I have left. And then some of the sweet peas, it looks like, are finally starting to come up. Ironically, of all the sweet peas that I sowed, my toddler showed me up on this one. She has been vigorously watering this planter, and I have not watered any of the other seeds that I had put in the ground because I just was too busy. And only hers have sprouted. The ones that she was taking care of, my 2.5-year-olds, they are coming up and doing great. The ones left, either that or it's birdseed again. But either way, there's something growing in here and it's happy, and anything I planted, not so much. So lesson from the toddlers. You may have seen the video for our DIY teepee. Originally I had put it out front on the lawn, but decided to move it back here and plant some scarlet runner beans. So I have done it with pots because I don't want to put it in the ground, and to make mowing the lawn far easier, I thought that this was a better solution. So our daughter has been coming in and hiding in here, and I really can't wait for it to actually have some plants coming up so that it's a shaded area. And I think the dogs are also going to enjoy popping into here during the heat of the day. And over here we have a few more vegetables in yet another grow bag, and some more cucumbers that will vine up this and hopefully grow along our very dirty porch railing. Another dahlia here. And then beside all the HVAC systems, we have more peppers. And we have decided to elevate everything up onto folding tables this year to help keep them away from the dogs and the dog's urine stream. So I just need to give everything a good watering in here tonight to get it all ready after the heat of the day. But that is the backyard, and this has been my little sanctuary during self-isolation. It's been really peaceful, really lovely. We've had all sorts of finches, Baltimore Orioles. We've had so many different birds. It's been really beautiful, and the bird song, the bird feeder has been a hit. We're going to add a bird bath in shortly, but it's been really lovely back here. Now, popping back out to the front garden space, we have had some hits and some misses this year. I think this might have been the year I've had the most plants die on me, which is slightly humbling. But we've also had some good successes, so things that didn't work in previous years seem to be finally kicking into gear. Our blueberries are just booming, absolutely booming. So whatever we have done here, they are very happy. We have like endless supplies of flowers coming out. Where last year, this second shrub over here didn't flower at all, and it has plenty. So we're gonna, by the looks of it, get a really good crop from this. In this one, I had done a bit of pruning earlier in the year to try and encourage some new growth. So I'm hoping later on in the season, once it's done focusing on all of its fruiting, we'll start seeing some results of that. The daffodils and the tulips are pretty well all done now. These are the last few stragglers in this zone. They popped up really quite late compared to everything else. The purple leaf sand cherry is just wrapping up its bloom season right now. The muscari is also just finishing up all of its and is now going to seed. Hyacinths are long done. What we do have coming in now is the irises in the back, and these were a new addition that came from a friend, so they were also going to be a surprise for me, and it looks like they're purple. So I'm guessing they're a bearded iris based on the height of what's coming out and the multiple bloom pattern on them, but I'm excited to see what they finally look like. The mock orange in the middle here did not bloom for me at all last year. All we got was foliage. And this year, once again, it's big, it's bushy, it seems happy, but I'm still not seeing any flower buds on it. So I'm thinking it's just going to be more foliage. And as lush as it looks, it might need a transplant to a slightly different spot. The sedum in there is coming along. It's a little bit choked out right now from the daffodil leaves, and we had tossed our lupin seedlings into the back there. I'm hoping that they'll come along nicely. Now I seem to deserve an award of some sort on this one because I killed black-eyed Susans. They're like a weed in Ontario, and I killed them. I have no idea how I managed to do so. 3 shrubs, all dead. Or three, I guess, plants, 3 clusters. The other one that I appear to have killed when splitting it was my silver mound Artemisia, because I had one in here and it has not made an appearance. Normally it is up by now. Same thing over here. It's just not coming back in, unfortunately. And the other loss, which was really disappointing, was my Japanese maple. I was hoping that it was just a late bloomer, but it looks like those late frosts got it. It ended up cracking and peeling all of the bark, splitting it. Let's see if we can get in closer. Splitting it right away. So it looks like it had some sort of a fungal disease or something else going on before the spring hit. I was worried it might have had versicolin wilt or whatever it's called. So I was doing some cutting to see, but all of these look okay. So it doesn't look like it was a vascular issue. It looks more like it may have been a late frost because it had put out a bunch of new growth and it had started to put out new buds, and then it croaked. So I'm thinking it was the spring that just this year was a little too tumultuous and the tree was still too young. This was only its second spring with me, which also means it's just outside of the warranty from the nursery. So I'm out of luck with that one. But this also means more opportunity to replace it with something else, and potentially mock orange will need to move there or something else will. The lilac is coming along. This is the Little Miss Kim. So even though the full, more traditional lilacs are in bloom right now, this one blooms later in the season. So typically once all of those are done, then this one will start up. So it's a little bit of a later bloomer. And our weedy mint has also started to make quite the reappearance. I noticed today that our dianthus have all started to pop out little flowers. So most of the shrubs are beginning to flower now. And moving over this way, we have once again a few last tulips just hanging on there. And these are new additions to the garden. These are more of the irises that we had picked up from a friend. So they were once again a bit of a surprise. But these ones, I'm not sure if it was like the heat of the day or what happened to them, but they opened and they kind of went a little funny. So I'm hoping that this is just like a new petal thing because the other ones didn't seem to do this mushiness. And we'll see how they turn out. But the rose is filling in quite beautifully. And beside the rose, we have our peony, which it looks like is going to be incredibly generous with the blooms. And throughout the day, the ants are already on it. The other mock orange here looks like it's actually going to have flowers this year. So this one is clearly much happier than the first one is. But it also gets a bit more sun and is further away from the house, but ironically has a more leggy formwork. And our clematis over here already has flower buds coming out as well. So we should be seeing blooms from those shortly. Our Mughal Pine got a little bit of a pruning. We put a little video up on Instagram on how to do some basic candling on that to help encourage a more compact and preferred shape. So you can check that out if you're interested in how to go about that. Some of our fall plants are starting to show their foliage now as our next round of blooms and bulbs have come in. So this area here smells absolutely divine, very highly perfumed. The bees have been loving it. There's another little bee on that one right there. But the alliums this year are a bit smaller than last year. Last year they were really huge. I'm guessing it's because of all the rain that we had, but this year they are definitely smaller. But the viburnum, we only got one bloom last year, and this year we have quite a few very fragrant ones. This heuchera is another loss. This one I had pointed out, I think, in the last tour, and it definitely is not coming back. So I'm going to haul that out and probably just replace it with a tomato for now, because I have 2 extra seedlings and nowhere else to put them in the back. So probably going to tuck them out in the front. And then beside it, this Hosta struggles every single year. It was planted at the same time as this and is, I think, even the same kind as this. I could be wrong. And this one comes up, is healthy, is robust, doing its thing, and this one struggles every year. It's slow to appear. It comes in sparse and straggly. It's just not happy. This whole zone is that area that I struggle with. On the other hand, the columbine, which is newer, is coming in and has some flowers. So we're going to get some little yellow flowers out of that quite soon. Oh, I just got a whiff of the Snowball Viburnum there. That is so lovely. The phlox is doing well. I'm really looking forward to when it really fills in like a full carpet in this area. But it's still going to be a little bit of time before that. This is only its second season in my garden. Last year we didn't even get blooms out of it. We have a few new little flowers popping up on that dianthus there. And over here the heucheras are a bit happier, but they're still small. Like, I'm really looking forward to them kicking it into high gear and giving a much bigger, more robust display. But patience, I must tell myself patience. We've also had a whole bunch of grass self-seed that I'm assuming came from the straw. Unfortunately, it was not as good quality as the straw I had in previous years, and has self-seeded in both my veggie garden and here, so I've got to do some pruning on that. Tulips. These are later season tulips. And this is the first time I've had something come into my garden that I've decided doesn't fit and I don't want it. I really like the purple ones, but the pink ones, the tone of them is more like a Barbie pink, and I was anticipating it to be more of a rosy pink like ones that I had in the back over here. And I'm not happy with them, so I think I'm going to donate them to a neighbor who doesn't really have any tulips and share the wealth that way, because they just don't fit and I have plenty. So we'll keep the purple ones, haul out the pink ones, and make do with that. Kale. Oh, this kale. This has been fun. I am looking forward to finally pulling it out, but this thing is probably a good 4 feet tall now. It is blooming profusely, many more blooms still to come, and it's a beast. So once it blooms, then it should go to seed, and then I can chop this sucker out and make a bit more space. Even the thyme in the pathway, I don't know if you can see it here, but over in the back corner there, it has started to bloom as well. And then we have this creeper over here, which I'm going to have to separate out because once again there are some more irises tucked in with that one. You can see the little specky yellow, and they need to have their rhizomes exposed to the sun, and being tucked in amongst this, I don't think they're going to do very well long term. Like a bunch of the blooms once again have already faded out on this one, and they only just came in a day or two ago, so I'm not sure if that's the heat or if that's because of the way that their rhizomes are. The daisy, on the other hand, which is just down below there, is going to be coming in shortly, and it's looking happy. And our dogwood, the blooms are coming out on that, so that one's looking happy. The roses down and behind are all looking good. And I had planted in some of our lupins over here in between. Some of them not faring so well at all, other ones faring just fine, but we'll see. Lupins seem to be pretty finicky, and this is my first year with them, so we'll see how we do. And my little baby redbud, still no blooms again this year, unfortunately. I'm hoping maybe by next year. I was doing some reading on it to figure out why it might not be blooming, and I think it's just the age of the tree. It's still such a small little tree, and apparently it takes 4 to 5 years before it will fully bloom and give you a nice show. Too funny. So while I was out just filming our little garden tour, we had another neighbor pop by and complaining about the woes of not being able to find any seedlings. So I think I've just offloaded the last few seedlings that I had kept back for myself. And I think now I'm officially out of seedlings for everybody, but it's been really cool how we've been able to feed the neighborhood that way. So along this fence, I did sweet peas, and like I had mentioned in the back, none of them came up. I think it's because I haven't watered it once. I've just been far too busy, so I have other plans for this. The sweet peas were supposed to be an earlier season crop for me. I'm going to be putting some beans along here for edibles, but also planting in some other vining flowers, which I have started from seed in little pots in the back, so they'll come out eventually. This morning I did the heartbreaking job of chopping back our Wigelia. It was really suffering. It was another one that put out a bunch of new growth, and then the frost got it, but it didn't kill it completely, so we did a renovation prune, which should be an upcoming video shortly. I had also put in some spring heath, also known as heather, and then we got hit by frost as well, and then we got hit by insanely crazy temperatures. So it's looking a little rough, but it's holding on. It's doing okay. The lavender is also very woody, needing a really good hack back now that I can see what's alive and what's not so alive, but it's also surviving. And this is evening primrose, which is native to Ontario. I have never grown it before. It's a biannual, so I don't think we're going to be seeing any blooms out of it this year, but it gives off a very tall yellow, well, it's a tall stalk and then a yellow flower. And all parts of this plant are usable, whether for edible or medicinal. And it's just something I had picked up from another mom in a mom's group and thought it would be a fun little addition to the garden. And in addition to that, we've popped in some sunflowers. So there's a few coming up here, so we should have a little more height. And of course, weeds as well. Our burning bush is massive and taking over, so I think this one I'm going to have to prune regularly to keep it in check, because it is it's a beast. It's definitely a beast. It has definitely been a colorful month, a busy month, so much to do, so much still to do, lots of cleanup. But we're almost at the point where we get to sit back, put our feet up, and just reap the harvests of all of the work from this month, which I'm really looking forward to. And all the perennials should just carry on as they do. I hope you enjoyed this, and if you're interested in seeing how this progresses, you'll tune in again next month for another monthly tour, and otherwise check out the other videos to see what other little projects and things we're getting up to and what we are planting as the season progresses.